Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining Trina Solar and GoodWe webinar today. Today webinar, we will talking about GoodWe export limit function and Trina Solar newest technologies for cost-efficient solar system. And I would like to introduce today's speaker. First of all, I would like to introduce Ms. Spencer Chu, System Application Engineer, come from GoodWe. And I would like to introduce Mr. Ren No Peter Gutierrez, is Trina Solar Philippines Country Manager. Today, we will start with the presentation from Ms. Spencer to introduce GoodWe export limit function. Hello, Ms. Spencer. Please start your presentation.
Okay, thanks, Lizzie. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. And during the presentation, if you have any question, please post it in the Q&A part or the chat box. Our speaker will answer to you after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. So, hello, everyone. I'm Spencer from GoodWe Solar Academy. And so today I will help to go through our GoodWe power limit solution. So first of all, I would like to have a brief introduction of GoodWe about who we are and what we do. So I think we have some knowledge from GoodWe because we have showed our videos. So GoodWe, we are actually not only the inverter manufacturer, but also we are determined to be the main driving force in the global energy transition to create a sustainable future. And our vision is to driving the world's smart energy future. And we have totally installed over 3 million units. Yeah, and here's some milestones of GoodWe. So GoodWe starts our business since 2010. And we've listed on the Shanghai stock market in 2020. And in 2022, we are having a global rebranding, a brand new GoodWe. So it's a groundbreaking ceremonies of the GoodWe Smart Energy R&D centers. And GoodWe family, we now having a very big family with over 4,000 employees. And we put a lot of effort on the research and development. So we have over 700 R&D staffs with over 100 overseas employees. And our global sales revenue has reached over 420 millions USD in last year. So and we have a very good production capacity. For example, we have 30 gigawatts solar inverter capacity and 2.1 gigawatt hours battery capacity. And as a global company, we have a global presence. So we have subsidiaries and branches all over the 5 continents. We put a lot of effort to promote our business in the global absence. And our R&D centers, we have 4 R&D centers based in mainland China. Our headquarters is in Suzhou, and we have 1 R&D center. And we also have other 3 in Shenzhen, Wuhan, and Nanjing. And as our production facilities, we have 2 main production centers based in Suzhou and Guangdong. GoodWe, as a famous inverter manufacturer and a leading PV systems designer, we have won many global awards. We've won the Red Dot Design in 2018 for our residential products. And we also were recognized by the very famous wood makers as the #1 residential inverter supply in 2019. And we are the world's top 5 PV inverter supply, recognized by wood makers in 2021. This is our GoodWe solutions, the products we are offering for the on-grid side. So for the on-grid products, we offering the inverters from 700 volt to 250 kilowatts. And because we are not only focused on the inverters, we have different business sectors, such as we also provide solutions for the PV plus storage solutions from 3 to 100 kilowatt. And we also have our own lithium batteries. And we also produce the building integrated PVs, we know as the BIPV. Okay, now let's have an overview of our portfolios. So this is our residential family, starting from the XS series, which is the smallest power classes from 700 volt to 3 kilowatt with 1 MPPT. And we also have multiple MPPT inverters, such as the SDTG2 series. And we've upgraded it to a new generation, which is the SDTG2 Plus series, because the large current trend in the PV industry. And we also have our DNSG3, which is our third generation residential star model. So it starts from 3 kilowatt, and it support up to 6 kilowatt with 2 MPPTs. And we also have MS series, which is also the single phase, but it has 3 MPPTs. So it is more suitable for the flexible system designs, because it can be adapted to a very complex rooftop situations. And our residential solutions, they are equipped with the Arc-Fault circuit interpreters, which is known as the AFCI. So it is very safe, and we can prevent the hazard of the fire accidents. And our residential solutions also supports oversizing to up to 200%. So for the details, we can have a look at the data sheets, because for different models, the oversizing capability will be different. Here is the commercial and industrial portfolio, starting from 17 kilowatts to 136 kilowatt for our HT series. And so the smallest commercial and industrial product is the SDTG2 series, from 17 to 25 kilowatt with 2 MPPTs. And we also have this SMT series, which is from 25 to 60 kilowatt, and with 3 to 6 MPPTs. And for even larger CNI projects, we offer the HT series, starting from 100 kilowatt to 136 kilowatt, with more MPPTs, up to 12 MPPTs. So our CNI inverters has the features like we can support the full load operation at 50 Celsius degree. So it can be adapted to the very hot extreme weather conditions. And our products also can have an overloading for up to 15%, which means we can bring more power generations for our customers. And this AFCI function is also an optional choice for our CNI products. And for our CNI products, like SMT and HT series, we also support the power line communication, which saves the investment for our customers, because we can save the cable investment for the IS-485, like the communication cables. Okay, now let's look at some field models for the Philippine areas. Because in Philippines, there's a low voltage grid. So we offer the low voltage CNI products like the low voltage SMT series. So it is the same as the SMT series, but it can be used in the low voltage grid. We also offer the HT series of the low voltage model, so it can also be used in the low voltage grid. Well, now let's move on to the power limit solutions of GoodWe. So for the power limit solutions for on-grid inverters, we have two main topics. One is the output power limit, and the other is the export power limit. So the main difference is that the output power limit is a fixed value at the inverter side, which means the inverter will output a fixed power. But for the export power limit, it is used to fix the output power to the grid. So the inverter output power is still changing, because the load consumption is unstable and it is a dynamic progress. So we will limit the power after the load's consumption. So this is the application scenario for the output power limit. So to set the output limit, it is very straightforward. We can just set it on the inverter LCD, or we can set it through the SolarGo app. So this, for output power limit, this is applied to the DC oversizing with no loads connected scenario, which means we will output all the powers to the grid. For example, here's an example here. The grid will ask us to limit the power to 1 megawatt. However, we have oversizing the system to 1.3 megawatt. So in this case, if the condition is very good, like we have in the noon, and the weather condition is very good, we will the inverter will generate more than 1 megawatt power. Therefore, we have to set the output power limit for the inverter to 1 megawatt. Therefore, we won't receive a fine from the grid company because we have more power outputted to the grid. So in this case, we have to pay attention that there's no additional devices needed. We only need to set it on the inverter or the SolarGo app. While for the export power limit, it is different because it has the load consumptions. So in here, I put an example of a single phase system. So as we can see, we have a single phase system with GoodWe DNS series of 5 kilowatt products, and we assume that our load consumption is 2 kilowatt. So if the grid asks us to limit the maximum output power at 1 kilowatt, then we can set the power limit through the LCD or the Solar Go app to 1 kilowatt. Then we will use the power generated from the inverter will be used by the loads first, and then the rest will be outputted to the grid. But because the maximum limit of the grid output is 1 kilowatt, so we can set the limit to either 20% or 20% or 1 kilowatt. Okay, then let's move on to the three-phase system. So in a three-phase system, sometimes the grid company will ask us to apply a three-phase zero injection system with loads connected scenario, which means the net power at the grid connection point should always be zero. So with one phase, we can output 100 kilowatt to the grid, but we must have a purchase of another 100 kilowatt to the loads to meet this scenario. So the net power will always be zero in the grid side. So here in this case, we have an output power of 20 kilowatt per phase, but in different phases, we have different loads. So yes, the rest of so if we need 300 kilowatt for the L2, so we will need to purchase 100 kilowatt from the grid. But for the L1, we only have 100 kilowatt loads. So we can output 100 kilowatt to the grid. So this limitation percentage can also be set on the inverter screen or the Solar Go app. While for the multiple inverters, we will need the software ProMate to set it. For these scenarios, we will need additional devices like a smart meter like GM3000 or GM3000C to have the power limit. And we will have more detailed explanation in the following slides. In some cases, the export power limit is a fixed value. For example, in this case here, we can see the maximum power allowed to the grid is 900 kilowatt, which means we can only have the maximum 900 kilowatt output to the grid. So we will set the power limit through the Solar Go or the display. If there's only one piece of inverters. However, if we have multiple inverters, we can still use ProMate to set it. In some countries, like for example, in Thailand, there's a requirement like a zero injection on each phase. In this case, we are not allowed to output any power to the grid, but we can only purchase from the grid. So this limitation percentage also need to be set in the inverter display or Solar Go for the single piece 3-phase inverter. So we would have to choose the safety code for this region and then set zero injection on each phase to have the settings. So in here we have an example, like we have, we can only purchase, we can see for L2 and L3, we can only purchase from the grid. And for the L1, we have 100 kilowatt generation. It will be used for the loads in L1. Because for on-grid inverters, we don't have an unbalanced output, so each phase will be 100 kilowatt. Okay, next, let's look at how we can achieve this export power limit function for different scenarios in details. So first, let's look at the single phase cases. Here is a case for a one-piece single-phase inverter. So this can be XS, MS, DNS, or the DNSG3. All of them are single-phase inverters. So in this scenario, we have only one single-phase inverter. In this case, the only device we need is a CT. So CT90 is a standard device for this case. Here, 90 means the maximum allowed load current of AC is 90 ampere. Standard CT is the CT90/5, which means it's a 5-meter CT. And if you need a longer, if the distance is longer, so you can also choose a CT90/30 as an optional choice. Please note that the power limit function in these slides are only available for the inverter with an arc function. If the inverter is without the arc function, please contact our after-sales service for more information. They will guide you how to do the export power limit. If we not only need export power limit, but also we would like to know how much power the loads are used. We also have an advanced solution called the load consumption monitoring solution. So in this case, we will need an advanced smart meter, which we call the home kit. And for the single phase inverters, the model name is HK1000. So this is designed to monitor the load energy consumption in real time. Because this home kit will have an independent power supply, so it will it can monitor the loads 24/7, and to get it, and it comes with 2 CTs. So one CT will be clipped on the before the loads, while the other will be clipped after the loads, and it will be before the house meter, so that these 2 CTs can help us to monitor the load consumption with more accuracy. And for our third generation residential products, we have a totally new export power limit solution with load consumption monitoring. Because for our newest, the third generation series, like the DNSG3, we have this one can be chosen as AC power at night, which means the inverter will be powered 24/7. So we don't have to have the independent power supply for the meter. So in this case, we can use GM1000 with 1 CT to realize the 24/7 load consumption monitoring. As we can see on the top left, here shows how we monitor the load consumption in our monitoring platform, which is the SAMS portal. So as we can see, we can see both the PV solar generation as well as our load consumptions and how much power we are outputted to the grid. Please remember to choose AC power at night functions if you use DNSG3 series and you also need a consumption monitoring solution. Well, next, let's move on to the three-phase solutions. In the three-phase scenarios, if there's only one piece of the SDTG2 series or SMT inverters, we only need a GM3000, which is the smart meter, to realize the export power limit function. So in this case, the load current for each phase should be less than 120 ampere because the CT has a maximum current limit for 120 amperes. This is enough for most residential residential cases. While for the C&I cases, we also have the GM3000C, which the C is stands for the commercial. So in this case, the load current can be even larger. And with the GM3000C, we can also choose their own CTs to adapt to different scenarios. And our HT series 1100 volt series can also use the GM3000C with 3 CTs. Similarly, if we need to have a load consumption monitoring, we can still use the home kit, but we offer the three-phase home kit, which is the HK3000 with CTs to realize the single SDTG2 or SMT inverter solution. So please note that this is only acceptable to install one inverter in the system, but not for multiple inverters. For multiple inverters, we also offer a solution with a GM3000C and EasyLogger Pro. Because for multiple inverters, we will need a data logger to collect the information from the different inverters. So in GoodWe, we have the EasyLogger Pro to collect data from different inverters. And the EasyLogger Pro will upload the output powers data to the cloud. And from the cloud, we will then apply the export power limit solution. In this case, the load current of each phase can be more than 120 amperes. But for this solution, the protection class of the GM3000C and EasyLogger Pro is only 20, so it can only be installed indoor. As we've mentioned, so for multiple inverters, we will need a special tool called ProMate to do the configuration. So this version of the ProMate could be different. Currently, we are using the 2.0.16. And for more information, please contact our after-sales team for the details. For multiple commercial and industrial inverters, we also have a more advanced solution for the export power limit. So because EasyLogger Pro can only be used indoor, so we offer a smart energy communication box, which is the SEC1000. So this communication box can be installed outdoor with a higher IP classes. The logic is the same as the last solution. So the current of the 3 phases can be more than 100 ampere, and the CTs can be purchased from GoodWe or from the other manufacturers. Okay, next, let's look at some main power limit accessories we've mentioned. So here I summarized all the equipment we are going to use in the export power limit solutions. So first of all, for the single phase, we can use the CT90 to do the export power limit. While for the three-phase scenarios, we will need a GM3000 with 3 CTs to do the power limit. And if we need a load consumption monitoring, we can use HK1000 or HK3000 for 3 phases. And in the CNI scenarios, if the current for each phase is more than 120 ampere, you can use the GM3000C or SEC1000 to do the export power limit. Here is our recommended CTs for the GM3000C and the SEC1000. Please note that when you are choosing the CTs, the secondary side must be 5 ampere. For the first please refer to our recommended CT listing. And this is the ProMate software to set export power limit function for multiple inverters. So first, you can choose the data logger on the left side for the first one on the list. And then you can set the system parameters, for example, the CT ratios, and then choose the set to set your CT ratios. And then you can wait until it shows that the connection is succeed. And then you can see the serial numbers and the versions of your software. After that, we can click the flash to check if the inverter SN can be shown, and then connect it to the Easy Logger Pro. The fourth step is to configure the monitoring. Okay, so lastly, let's look at some case references in the Southeast areas. This is our project in Philippines. We have installed 3 MTs for this factory. So the totally we have 115 kilowatt systems. And this is another 5 megawatt project used our HT series in Vietnam. And in Thailand, we have also have many CNI projects. Here is a 2 megawatt project use our MT series. Malaysia, we have used the MT 60 kilowatt series for a 449 kilowatt project. Okay, thank you. So that's all for my speech.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Spencer, for your presentation. And hello, Mr. Ren. I would like to invite you to give a speech for your next presentation about Trina Solar most updated technology.
Hi, thank you, Lizzie. I'll just share my screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gutierrez from Trina Solar. I'll be giving a brief presentation about our newest product offering for the business that we think will help every installer or solar EPCs to break down their cost even further. But
sorry, Mr. Ren.
to give
sorry, your microphone, your sound is a little bit broken.
Okay. Uh, Hi. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, it's better now.
Okay. I'll just turn off my video, Lizzie, so that I can speak clearer. So, I know a lot of the attendees are familiar with Trina Solar, especially in the Philippines, but let me just give a brief background of what we have achieved in the Philippine market and global market as well. So for the global market, Trina Solar has been recognized by Bloomberg, um, NEF as a PV module, uh, one of the most bankable PV module for 7 times in a row since 2016. And for PVEL, we have been named as top performer for PV module for 8 times in a row. So we are kind of proud of that. And for PV Tech, we're the top 2 module supplier in 2021 and in 2022. And we're one of the top 3 um, AAA rated company in terms of bankability by PB Tech. For our local team here in the Philippines, we are present since 2013. We have done numerous solar farm projects, utility projects, and commercial and industrial projects. We are the market pioneers, one of the market pioneers here in solar installation in the Philippines. And we are proud to say that we are the top brand supplier of 210 cell technology for the Philippine market. And to continue, oh, sorry. This 2022, Trina Solar celebrated its 25th year anniversary as a solar module manufacturer and as a company. And we have shared around 100 gigawatt of accumulated shipment since then, since the founding in 1997. And we are kind of proud of this because 100 gigawatt, it's not just a number that we delivered. It's also a number that we think is significant in terms of contribution in climate change as well. So 100 gigawatt, I think, is a equivalent to almost planting around 139 billion trees and a CO2 emission of 135 million tons of CO2. So that's how Trina Solar is contributing to, not just by selling, but through the environment as well. And I think in last May of this year, the threshold for the solar installed capacity globally is around 1 gigawatt, and Trina Solar covers 10% of that number. So moving on, our production capacity for this year is around 65 gigawatt for the module, and our cell production is around 50 gigawatt. So this shows how big Trina Solar in terms of its market sizing and range. And we also want to share our financial stability or our financial soundness, as we say. For the first 3 quarters of this year, we had an 8.8 billion USD operating income. That's around 82.56% year-on-year growth. And for the first quarter of this year, we have a attributed net income of 364 million USD. So it's around 100%, more than 100% year-on-year growth for us. And the total assets of Trina Solar is around 11.84, and we keep on growing, and that growth is facing 20.89% year-on-year. And for the first 3 quarters, our total module shipment is around 28.79 gigawatt globally, and that's a 75.35% year-on-year growth. The reason why we are sharing this to our customers or to our potential customers and to our partners is because we know that solar module is an investment for a long term, um, and we want to make a to give you a peace or to give you an assurance that Trina Solar through this figure is one of the most financially stable company that can support you all throughout the system life. And for today, we want to share our Vertex family or the modules that we offer. Right now, we have the 425 to 430 watt for our residential segment. Um, we have the 580 watt for Q4 to 2023, an upgrade from 550. Next year we will be selling 580 watt peak, 570 to 580 watt peak panels for commercial and industrial clients. And we also have the 600 watt and the 670 watt for our ground mount utility scale projects. But for today, we will be focusing on our Vertex R 580 watt panel. And let me begin with this module. So our 580 or what we say is the what do you call this, the wattage or the size is 560 to 580 watt module, has an efficiency of 21.5. We think this is the best solution for CNI and also for utility, but I think this is the perfect for CNI here in the Philippines. We have the electrical parameters of for the open circuit voltage is 46.3 and the IMPP current is 14.86 amperes. And the mechanical parameter, if you can see, is around 2.3 by 1.1 by 2.5. And our weight is 29.1 kilograms. So I think if you can see the electrical and mechanical parameters, especially for the mechanical parameters, it is a very good fit for CNI projects. We also have the bifacial modules. For this one, we have the 575 watt as our main power class, and the electrical parameter is open circuit voltage is 46, IMPP current is 14.97, and for the mechanical parameter is 2.3, 1.1, and 30 mm, and 33.7 kilogram. So what's new with our Vertex 19R series? This cell, we're using G12R cell type. I think the biggest cell type right now. Why we are using this is because we think that this will give more string power, more module and more string power in an installation, and this will eliminate or this will give you a better chance against hot spots. This will eliminate a lot of low. Sorry, let me put it this way: it's a low risk against hot spot in the market or in the module. So here's the Vertex DE19R series comparison versus the 182 watt versus our 210 mm P-type panels. If you can see for the length itself, or the installation size for because we know for CNI space is very important. So if you compare it with the other 585 watt module, we are less than 81 mm in size in terms of the length, and then the width is all the same. We also had a better efficiency at 21.31, and we do believe that this um, DE19R or 575 to 580 watt will give you a 25-watt peak higher. It will have a BOS savings of $0.0036 per watt. So I think it is a big number if you're talking about big installation. So what is the outstanding features of um, this new product for us, or DE19R? As we said, that we want to ensure cost efficiency. So it can give you 10 to 12% higher string power per installation, a BOS saving of 0.4 cents per watt USD, 4 to 5% higher installation capacity, because of later I will share why we're discussing this. And the power per 40-foot container is much bigger than the traditional one. We can ship around 350 kilowatt per container for 40-footer versus the other competitors. And compatibility with the AC/DC ratio from especially from GoodWe, I think it's very compatible. Especially for the CNI, starting for the 25 to 136 KTL. So we just want to share with you how we come up with this higher string power. If you can see, once you install DE19R versus the other 182 cells or 78 cells for the N-type, even the N-type, the DE19R or R575 to 580 watt can give you a better LCOE advantage in the installation. Even they have the similar string power, but the number of savings, if you can see on the lower right portion of our screen, the DE19 has 21 modules per string. It can maximize the AC/DC ratio of the inverter, and giving 4 to at least 4 to 5 more modules per string. This means you can maximize the space, lower cost of BOS, lower cost of everything in the BOS, cable, stringing, and we also want to share our DE19R package solution. If you can see, we maximize this type of module to fit in a 140-foot container, and the advantage on capacity is plus 4.5%. So yes, we always say that the initial basis of installation is the dollar per watt of the material or of the supply, whether it's the module or the inverter. But we also want to reiterate why we are presenting this kind of numbers is we should also check the LCOE or the long-term benefit, or the more benefit that especially for the module, that it can give, other than the dollar per watt value, but the other savings on the other BOS system. So today, I want to share a scenario, or a what do you call this? We simulated based on our parameters for a commercial and industrial project, our 575 watt panel, which we call DE19R, versus the 182 traditional 545 watt panel. So if you can see, we use the inverter, the 100 HT of GoodWe. And this is a almost 1 megawatt project in Malaysia for rooftop. And we use the monofacial module. One of the key things that we want to reiterate here is, aside from the number of modules per string, this is an actual simulation scenario. So there's a two modules difference already for string, and the string power is 11,500 watt versus 9,800 watt. So it's bigger by 2,000 watts already. And the layout, if you can see, is almost the same. The string number is quite different. If you can see, for Trina, we only have 84 versus the 98 of the 182 545 watt. Definitely the module number is decreased, so you can have a space saving. And the AC/DC ratio is at 1.3. The AC capacity is the same at 700, but the DC capacity, it's different from 966 to 961. So what we're trying to say with this simulation, what we're trying to conclude, or what we're trying to embark. So with this, we did a BOS or BOQ comparison using that scenario. And in this kind of scenario, you can see you can have a better LCOE, not only with the module, but using the right module or the right combination of solar module and inverter. You can have less connectors, MC4, less cables used, less grounding lugs, less PVC, and less cable tray. And this, using this simulation, using the right combination, this will give you a round of BOS saving of 0.0036 cents per watt, or that is roughly 4% lower than our competitor. So in the Philippines, 4% lower. Let's say if you're installing an average of 50,000 pesos per kilowatt hour, 50,000 pesos per kilowatt installation cost, that will translate 2,000 pesos savings already per kilowatt. And that 2,000, if you translate that to 100 kilowatt, 200, 300 kilowatt, that could be a huge savings, or an added extra income or profit for installers like you, or savings for end users like you here in the webinar. So actually that's what we want to share with the combination of GoodWe 100 KTLH, I think HT, is that correct? Lizzie, 100 HT, and using our Trina module DE19R 575 to 580 watt. That would be the main power class for our CNI next year. It can translate to a better LCOE, to a better this how we can help you guys on doing this. And if you have any questions, or if you have any scenarios, you can message us, contact us anytime, and we will try to simulate it for you as well, especially for large CNI projects.
Yes,
And
thank you,
we just
Mr.
want to
Ren.
share
Oh,
yeah. So
okay.
lastly, this is the projects that we have in the Philippines. So we have the Cadiz project way back in, I think, 2014, 2015. We also have the 63.3 megawatt of Solar Philippines. I think this is 2016. So we've been here since the very beginning of solar projects here in the Philippines, and we are still growing right now. We also have residential. We also have commercial rooftop projects, and we have a wide range of product for you. So, Lizzie, I think um, that's all on my part. Um, so yes,
Yes.
thank
Thank
you
you,
so much
Mr.
for
Ren.
the opportunity
Yes.
to explain.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And next part, we're moving on to the Q&A with Mr. Ren and Ms. Spencer from GoodWe and Trina Solar here. If you have any question, please post it in the Q&A box. In the meantime, we will answer a few questions we already received here. First of all, in the Q&A box, we received a interesting question about your sales, Mr. Ren. Is there any promotional pricing regarding the year-end sales of the panels?
So yes, there is. You can message us because the pricing will vary on the delivery timeline as well, and the volume. Especially everyone, if everyone here is from the Philippines, we all know that December is quite a busy month for importation in the Philippines right now. So we can talk separately for the pricing.
Okay. So please inbox Mr. Ren here, or you can just send me an email after this webinar, and I can share you the contact of Trina Solar and the team for further sales issue contact. And moving on to the next question we received, one customer asked us if can I use other brand CT together with GoodWe inverter for zero export? Ms. Spencer, please help to explain this question.
Yes, it is a good question. Actually, for the single phase, for one piece inverters, because we use CT 90 or the smart meter, so we cannot choose other brand CTs. But if we use GM 3000C for the commercial and industrial, or we use SEC 1000, we can choose the other brand CTs based on the scenarios. And in the slides, we gave you a recommended CT list. So it's better to choose the CT specs from the recommended lists.
Okay, I see. Thank you, Ms. Spencer. So if the inverter is just one inverter, it has to connect directly to the CD, then the customer cannot use other brand CD. But if they use many inverters at the same time, and they use a communication box to control the inverters, then they can use other brand CD, right?
Yes, correctly.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Spencer. We also received another question for both team, I believe. The question is, in case of technical problems, if one panel or one inverter stop working, and I believe the question will apply for a PV system which use many inverters at the same time, then the question is, can others still function? And will the app send alarms to help me identify which item is broken? Can we start with Mr. Ren first?
Hi, Lizzie. So the question is, if one panel is broken, can they replace with what? Another brand? Is that the question, or another power class?
Oh no, the question is if one panel is broken, can others panels still function? And do you have an app that send alarms to the customer, let them know which panel is broken?
So technically, since we are on a string basis, So if one panel is broken in one string, definitely that string will be affected. So definitely, um, you can notice that through your inverter immediately. If the production of the solar decreases for quite a while and it's not normal, then definitely there is a problem with the system, and it can be one panel or two panels. So in monitoring it, I think in basic monitoring is okay, but as I know, also inverter has other monitoring features, right? So I will let you answer that question for the monitoring feature.
Yes,
Maybe Spence.
yes. Miss Spencer, can you help to answer this?
Yes, yes. Yes, so this problem can be solved from the inverter side because we have a monitoring tool to show the um, input power, input current, and voltage from the panels, like the PV strings. We have a string level monitoring for the CNI products like the HT series. So we will monitor the string current and voltage for each PV string. So once we found that the PV string has a very strange value, like a very low value, then we know that this string is stopped working. So we have to check it and change the broken panels through the string. But it is down to the string size. So if you need to know the exact conditions of each panel, we will need to add an optimizers. Some optimizers can do the monitoring down to the panel level.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we receive one more question is if how can Trina solar panel help with preventing fire hazard? And do you have any advice on the basic installation for the customer to avoid the fire to happen?
Ah, okay. So there's a lot of things that you can do to avoid fire. One is very basic. Use the right size of cable. Use the right size of cable in installing from the DC side to the AC side. That's very important. Second is in the Philippines there is a requirement for rapid shutdown already. So this rapid shutdown is a tool, I think, that especially for CNI rooftop projects. This is a requirement in the Philippine Electrical Code. So this rapid shutdown can help this um, avoid such kind of fire, or it will, if a fire started, it will not spread out immediately. There's another layer of protection for this one, so it can save the rest of the system as well, and maybe the rest of your building or your houses. So but technically, aside from the RSD, I firmly believe that use the right size of cable, because normally the short circuit or the electricity travels through that cable. It's where the most of the time it's where it happens, the start of that such kind of accident.
Yes,
um
thank you, Mr. And I remember in your presentation, you mentioned that Trina Solar has a products that help with hotspot.
yeah, hotspot is something that um that degenerate the production of the panels. So every solar module manufacturer is ensuring that these hotspots will not happen by reinforcing their um, um, technology. Just like us, we're using a larger scale of cell which is the G12R. And by doing that, we eliminate the risk of a hotspot as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ren. And another question for Trina Solar team. A customer asked if you have any sales office in the Pakistan.
We have number of salespeople in the area. So if you're interested in Pakistan market, you can message us, and we will direct you to the right person in charge in that part of the world.
Yes, and I believe if you don't have any other questions, we will end the webinar here today. And after this webinar, I will send all today's presentations and videos to you. Oh, and we do receive another question. How can GoodWe inverters comply with rapid shutdown system of the 2017 PEC?
Yes, actually, our inverters can be compatible with the rapid shutdown solution because for the rapid shutdown, we will have to add rapid shutdown devices behind the panels. So for the inverters, we will need to be compatible with the this kind of devices. And GoodWe, we have the RS485 cables for the communication, so we can receive the signals from these RSD devices. And also GoodWe ourselves, we are also developing our own RSD transmitter and devices. It may come next year. Yeah, but for now, we can still compatible with other RSD brands like Tigo, yeah, etc. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Spencer. Hello, all of our attendees today. I would like to close the webinar now. And if you have extra question after this webinar, please reply to my emails and I will send your question to the speakers. In the meantime, have a nice day and goodbye. Thank you, Mr. Ren. Thank you, Ms. Spencer, for your great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.